school year. It seems like just yesterday was September. Welcome aboard. I think we have a couple of new folks, a couple of folks filling in for other people. So thank you very much for attending. I appreciate it. And let's get started. Mr. Boyd, yeah, we're all set.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Dorgan. I am the Director of Special Education at the high school level.
I'm Victoria Grotis. I'm the Transition Specialist at the high school level.
So today we're going to be talking about our new program that we have named the MILES program. And the MILES program is Middletown Inspiring Lifelong Education and Success. What this program is, we'll get into kind of all the details about it, but in a nutshell, it is our 18 to 21-year-old transition program that has started really just this past September and it's housed at High School South. So the mission of this program is to allow our students ages 18 to 21 with an IEP the opportunity to explore employment opportunities and develop meaningful life skills that will help them transition into life after high school to the greatest extent possible. The transition team that we're kind of working with is the transition specialist, Victoria, our work-based learning coordinator, Stacy Mindell, who is working out of High School South as well, the classroom teachers, and we'll get into that in a moment as well, our case managers, our administration, and also our parents.
I think one of the big things too is what we saw was our students were in our programs from, entering high school 14, 15 to 21, still taking academic courses, and we really wanted to focus on a program that allowed for our students 18 to 21 in our special education population to really adapt into the adult life once they leave here. So they, like Mr. Dorgan shared, we're really steering away towards the academic component and really focusing on life skills and functional skills.
So we have some pictures of some of our students out either at job sites or in the community. So this is just an example. One of our students at work-based learning. This is actually, we'll show you a list of all the different sites and places that we go to, but this is one of our own schools that is involved in the program, and one of our students doing some work there. So who is eligible for the MILES program? This is kind of echoes what Mrs. Gross was just sharing in terms of why we created this and who it is geared towards. So currently our MILES program is open to students from our LLD classes, our autism and multiple disabilities classrooms. And the reason that we did that is because we found that students in those special class programs were going through academics for their 4 years of high school, but then kind of repeating the same classes again. So looking at this in terms of big picture, what can we do to make it a little better? So hence this program kind of came into play. So instead of students going through a year 5, a year 6, a year 7 at the high school level, we have instead created this program so that they can do their 4 years of academics, meet the graduation requirements, and then gain that real world experience.
I think too, for most of these students, they'll enter into adult support services. So we're looking at DDD services, Social Security, Medicaid. They don't have access to those services from the Department of Developmental Disabilities till they are 21. And what would happen is we'd see a lot of parents either exit their child early from the school system, or they would leave before they hit 21 because they were done with high school per se, and then they wouldn't have access to any resources. So we thought this would be a nice continuum for services for them.
So right now, the way that it's structured, it is our LLD students in the autism class and multiple disabilities classrooms. There definitely will be exceptions as we move forward, and that will be done on an individual basis. All of the students within this program have a high level of need, all have IEPs, all need that extra layer of support, and are not college bound, may not be career bound right after high school. So those are just some of the things that go into consideration when looking at the students for this program. But right now, those are kind of our 3 classes that funnel right into the MILES program.
Yeah, sure. So we have every Wednesday our students go out for community-based instruction. So these trips look like they focus really around, again, life skills, functional living skills. They go to grocery stores, they go and do leisure activities, they do hikes, And then they prep before they leave. So they make grocery lists, they get grocery lists from their family, they're budgeting, they are making meal plans for the week, they go out to restaurants, so they're learning to order, how to engage with wait staff, how to be patient and wait with wait staff. We've seen this has actually been one of the highlights of the program. They've had a great time. They even sometimes just go to Starbucks and for a little portion of it, and learn how to just be social with their peers. It's a good opportunity for them to learn how to engage with each other outside of school. If you want to go meet up with a friend, where do you go? What places can you access with your parents? So this has been actually really wonderful for our students, and they've really enjoyed it. They're actually going to a beach park, Sandy Hook, next week, and off the hook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and the big focus of a community-based trip is just that, to get involved in the community itself. So utilizing all of the resources we have right here in Middletown and the surrounding area, and kind of making that a focus. So they've gone to a lot of the county parks, Huber Woods.
All the post offices.
Yes.
They're learning how to access resources within their own community during those days.
So program details. This is kind of the shape of our program, and next year we are expanding from one class to 2 tracks. So this year was kind of figuring out things along the way, seeing what worked, what didn't work, and really we found that it was overall the program was very successful, and we wanted to expand that. So we have created a second track for next year. So this is kind of an example of a daily schedule, but the Miles program is currently housed at High School South, and we'll be expanding to 2 sections next year. Both tracks will focus on life and work skills, but in different capacities, utilizing individualized approach. So both the tracks, again, looking at individual students, where do we think they would fit best? It can be a fluid thing where they may be in track 2 for a year and they do really well, and then they move to track 1, and we'll go over kind of how they look different in just a moment. Both tracks also participate in that community-based instruction that you just saw a second ago, and actually track 2 a little bit more. And again, we'll go over a kind of a weekly schedule with you in just a moment. But these are just examples of kind of what the day would look like. They do follow a high school schedule, so they come in with transportation in the morning, they leave on the high school transportation in the afternoon. But the big crux of their school day is no longer academic. It is the work-based learning, where they're out for kind of those middle blocks 2 through 5, according to the high school schedule, or around 8:45 to 12:45 each day.
So this is one of our students. He works at Brookdale Kitchen. So a lot of our students like sample different jobs. So they'll go, this particular student goes to Brookdale 1 day a week, goes to Burlington and DSW. So they're really just learning prepping skills here. And again, just how to engage with employers, how to gain some of those soft skills that we need, conflict resolution, how to handle a crisis situation. They're learning all these in these real life work experiences. Yeah. So this is how our schedule is hoping to look for next year, and this is currently what our schedule looks like right now. So Monday and Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they go out to work. So block 1 and block 6, they're in the building. Block 1, they're doing what we call a staff meeting. They go over their day, they go over their routine, they go over whatever job site they're going out to, what expectations they have on that job site. And then in addition to that, they're working on some sort of life skill. Thursday morning, they usually cook. They prep in a crock pot. They make a meal for themselves to eat when they get back from work. So again, our students all go out to different sites throughout the day. And then Wednesday, they do their community-based instruction. Thursday, Friday is our work-based learning as well. Friday, they go out actually as a whole class to Burlington, which is really nice because the teacher is there with them and helps guide their practices, which is good. And then our track 2, what our goal is for next year is, as Mr. Dorgan shared in our one picture, one of our students who works in-house in an in-district building. We're hoping for Monday for our students to do very similar situations where they would work in our High School South building, doing different jobs. And then Tuesday, Thursday, they would do community-based instruction where they would do more of those life skills, food shopping, banks, pharmacies, going out to eat, going to different recreational activities. And then we're looking for one day doing a out-of-building work-based experience, and Friday, again, the same thing, an in-school job, or in the district in another school building job.
And again, all of these will be approached individually for any of the students who are interactive that may be able to go out in the community a couple extra days a week. So we're trying to get students to work to their strengths, but also just give them a variety of experience out in the community. So we certainly want to place them an area where they maybe have some interest, but we also want to have them just experience work in a place where they can gain a variety of skills.
That Block 1 piece is big on that as well. So they're working on identifying their interests, their strengths, what work skills they already have, and how they can utilize that with finding a potential job site. This is one of our students again at one of our community-based instruction sites. So just like Mr. Brewer said, allow for our students to experience local restaurants. It's just nice for them to have that social environment. We've also connected with Madelon, Aberdeen, and Homedale's transition programs, and we go out and do recreational activities with them. And our students have been able to connect, share phone numbers, make friendships that they are going to be able to use once they exit our program as well. It's been really nice. It's mine. So my role really is I've helped kind of open this program and guide it. We've worked on the curriculum together, and hopefully it'll get approved, so we're good on that. But in addition to the program, one of the things like I shared is a lot of our students will possibly need access to DDD services, Social Security, Medicaid, and that is a very long, tedious process. So I've had monthly presentations for parents on transition planning, DDD services. We've had different agencies come in that do presentations for us so that our parents are educated. We opened it up to all the high school parents in our self-contained programs. So our 14-year-old parents, 15, 16, they all are exposed to this content material before it gets too late for them to kind of get access to those services. I've been meeting with our parents in our transition program to go over those supports. I've kind of been a guiding force for them. Our case managers have a very heavy caseload, so when they need access to documentation and different paperwork and resources, they've come to me for that instead of having to go to their case managers. And then in addition to that, we've partnered with Rutgers Bog Center, it's their Division of Developmental Disabilities. And we've been doing person-centered planning meetings, which is a strength-based, holistic approach where we meet with our students who are exiting the transition program. We go over their life goals, how they communicate, their strengths, and create this plan for them for when they exit our building, so they no longer have an IEP when they exit. We actually had our first full one yesterday, and everyone left in tears, happy tears. It was a very successful meeting. We're really proud of what has started and what's happening, and we're really excited about what's to come with our collaboration with the Bog Center.
So there's just another example of work-based learning. We have kind of branched into a few larger businesses like DSW, which is pictured here. So we're able to send it's a larger group of students that it's not all individual placements where students are able to work together. And so they are a couple of our great students here at DSW, and they all were able to get uniform shirts that they're able to wear out in the community as well, making them look a little more formal in the workplace. So these are just some of our work-based learning program work sites, a few of the places that we're going now: Food Town, Party Fair, Cottontail Consignment, Burlington, CBR. The Brookdale campus has been really great for our students. There are a number of different places where they're able to go over there: DSW, Flores, Middletown Library, and then also with Whitson's, our food service group, our students are able to work there as well.
We've also really tapped in for next year, looking at our local community. We just linked up with Hartley Burger in Shrewsbury. We're looking at some smaller sites that can take maybe one student and then potentially really foster that relationship and get employment. One of our students actually just got hired at Party Fair and another one at Burlington. So it's been really successful so far.
Just one of our students at another work-based learning site working out of Florist. So, it's something that should possibly continue when she graduates as well. So just like to highlight all the stuff that they're doing. And then, as I shared earlier, we are utilizing our own schools. So when we put this out originally to the district, everyone was willing to participate. So these are just kind of the schools that we were able to utilize, and if they had Bayshore to the list, Mr. Curtis, sorry, I left you off there, but Lincroft, Thompson, Harmony, South Torrn, and Bayshore. So those are schools that we have students going into working in different capacities, working with the custodial staff, and just a variety of jobs. And then we are also looking into the paid work-based learning. So No Limits Cafe and Home Depot, we're in discussions with them currently about how we can place students there. The paid work-based learning is different from the volunteer work-based learning or the unpaid work-based learning sites, but it is something we are certainly looking into. No Limits, it's right here in town. It's a great place. So we are in conversation with them about getting a couple of our students involved in working over there. And they do have a selection process, so they're going to kind of go through interviews with us and look at the students that would be the correct fit there.
So I was sharing before, our students on Wednesday, they actually go food shopping. They prep a meal, they fill out their grocery list, what they need, and then on Thursday morning, they actually prep the entire meal, put it in a crock pot, and they work with their teacher for this. And when they come back, they get to sit and eat it at again, we have like a staff table in the back, and they get to enjoy their lunch. And it's been, again, I think a really big highlight for our students. A lot of our parents even say we didn't allow them to kind of engage in these skills at home, and now they're being exposed to it here, and they've been really successful. And you could see a lot of accomplishment with them, and they've been very proud of themselves. And you know, we have students coming down like, I used a knife, I was cutting carrots today. So it's been great. And they get to sit and hang out with their peers and eat afterwards and really see a finished product. And at least I explain to them all the time, it's a really good life skill to have when you're working, right? How to use a crock pot. We all can throw something in, come home from work, and dinner's ready for us. So it's been something we've been doing and really like.
So Victoria mentioned earlier just a couple of our success stories that we've had with our students. So we've had 2 students who were hired from their work-based learning job sites. One of them performed so well at Burlington Coat Factory, they got a job on Saturdays, so he is now working there on Saturdays. And we had another student who was doing so well at Party Fair that they hired him as well. So 2 great success stories for our kids who were able to obtain employment and with exposure that they may not have otherwise had. So really getting them out into these job sites was awesome. One of the things that we did learn is kind of any student who actually is employed by a store, unless they're doing the exact same job when they go to that work-based learning during the week with us, we have to remove them if the job isn't the same, because they
can't be doing a job
right.
where they're volunteering for and then on another day get paid for it.
Correct.
So those 2 students were placed in another work site for the days that they were in school. But our student who worked at Party Fair, we just got an email from their mom today that they added an extra day to their schedule. So they've been very busy and enjoying it there. Ms. Mindell, our work-based learning coordinator, has been working tirelessly to find additional jobs for these students, and she was able to place them right out. Once they obtained the jobs, they were able to be placed in positions right away.
So kind of looking ahead, one of the things that everything that our students have gone through this year has really been positive in terms of experience and things. And there are some barriers to kind of the work-based learning. So shameless little plug here, anyone who has a local business or knows anybody, certainly recruit. Anybody who would like to work as a paraprofessional for our students when they're out of the work-based learning site, that would be awesome as well. Those are 2 of the biggest barriers that we encounter. We do sometimes struggle finding job sites that are willing to take our students. And second, we sometimes do have a difficult time getting necessary staff in for a student who may need that one-on-one support out in the community. So that is ongoing. I think that job posting has been open literally the entire year, and try to get people in and help out and support our students. So what we're really doing or looking to do next year kind of is tier our work-based learning approach. So those students who are between the ages of 18 and 21 are exposed to the most relevant job skills and get the most time out in the community, and then kind of go back from there in terms of age. Transition at an IEP meeting starts at age 14, and then 16 students can really become involved in kind of going out into the community. But our focus is going to be preparing those students who are closest to going out into the real world, giving them as much time out in the community as we possibly can. So that's kind of the tiered approach as we move forward.
And I think too, as Mr. Dorian shared that picture at DSW, it would be more so for our younger students to have more of like a cohort going with them, where our students who are closer to exiting might look at those paid work experiences, or maybe a more like individualized one, like the student who's at the florist. The florist only takes one student, so we need one staff to go with that student, whereas at DSW you might have 3 students with 1 staff member. So it does, to individualize it and make it interest-based, the staffing needs to be there for everybody.
Right, so one thing I do just want to share too that I don't think I mentioned is we are working, next year, we are having a number of students who are in the LLD population high school north come over to South and are going to start integrating into this program. We're going to be working very closely between both high schools to get all the students who really fit kind of that criteria into our program. So we are happy to have a few of our North students come over next year as well. So, any questions regarding the program we can answer? Sure.
How many students do you anticipate to be in the program?
So right now we have 10 students in our transition class. Next year we're looking about the same for track 1 and about 7 or 8 for track 2. Yes.
It's really just like shifting how the district already looks. So some of these students would normally stay, they would just be in maybe one of our like multiply disabled classes or one of our autism programs. This is really streamlining it more to, they have 14 to 18 in one class and then 18 to 21 in another class.
And just to clarify too, for the high school north students who are able to transition, they have to be in the LLD class, or
so
that's not an option for the MD autism students at this point, or are
so MD autism is just at South, so they'll fill in there, and then the LLD population is housed at both North and South. So we are pulling from that population to North. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds really great that this is getting put in place, and I'm really glad to see that this transition process, that students are getting better supported to transition to work environments. So I think that's really great. I think, just we have heard some concerns about from high school South parents about whether students are getting adequately prepared so that they can go out into the community and do that work-based learning, and we want to make sure that that's at the high school level to get them ready, as which is kind of obvious. And then the other thing is, we're still hearing more from South concerns about isolation culturally. And, we saw that really great presentation on inclusion, and we know that there's a lot of things in motion to kind of support that. So kind of wondering, how you guys are looking at those issues as you develop the program as well.
Sure. I think the transition program, the students that will be in this, really when looking at kind of their age and what is quote typical, it would be out in the community with their peers that are working. So that's kind of, they are housed in their own with each other in blocks 1 and block 6, but really getting them out in the community for that large chunk of the day with peers. That's kind of our focus there in terms of making sure that they're just included in the broader community. I think looking at what we've had in place, it was more restrictive because those students were still in an autism room, they were still in an LLD classroom or still in an MD classroom, weren't really getting out, and now this affords us an opportunity to really get them out into not only into the school or various schools within the district, but also into the community at large.
And I think connecting with those other districts as well, like I shared, is allowing the students to grow greater relationships beyond just Middletown, which has been really helpful for them. One of the things as the transition specialist I do as well, when we're talking to parents, I go to most of the IEP meetings for our high school students in the self-contained programs, regardless if they're in the transition program or not. One of the things we do talk about is the resources that they're using within their community for social avenues, and that's been really helpful. We try to explain to the parents, at 18 we should start looking at different like adult resources and adult activities, because once they leave high school they won't have access to those anymore, and now we're just like dropping them off and saying you're not going back to school, and you now need to start creating all new relationships and all new resources. So we're trying to bridge that gap for that 18 to 21-year-old population to have more of a cushion into that. So if we expose them younger to those adult resources, then at 21, it's not as much of a drop-off for them.
Yeah, and I just going to add too, I think kind of one of the key inclusion pieces here too is, these our general ed students to realize that these kids are hireable, and we, we want them, to be aware of their needs.
Yes.
And, eventually, some of these kids are going to be bosses and, we need them to be looking out to hire some.
Absolutely. Everyone's employable, and that's, like we said, we're working really closely with the Bog Center through Rutgers, and that's our goal, and that's Ms. Mindell's goal, is to find the most appropriate work sites for our students. And again, just like you shared, we need employers to be open and understanding of some of our students' needs.
All right, is there any more questions?
Can I just say something real quick? I just want to say, I'm so impressed with this. I was at High School South 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and we started the discussion of putting this program in place, and to sit here and see what it's come to, I think is a real testament of your work and your dedication and the commitment to the board to being able to provide these opportunities for our students. So I just want to say that's great. I'm so happy that our students have this opportunity.
Us as well, it's great.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. So the next thing we wanted to talk about today was just an overview, quick glance overview of all of the summer programs that will be going on in the district this summer. As always, we offer what we believe is a pretty impressive slate of activities. We've expanded them over the years. This was something that I was originally a part of when I was here prior to coming back, and it has continued to grow over time, and we've grown in a way that's good for our kids, exposes them to multiple opportunities, but also strategically continues some of the services that occur during the school year. So we have our 2 ESY programs, which is for our special education populations with the main goal of preventing regression. So it is a very select population that is eligible for those extended school year opportunities. We do always run a really populated program for both of our elementary and high school students. As you can see, the dates are listed up there, and the times and the locations that those programs will be housed this summer. And just kind of as a side note, when we structure out what buildings these programs will be housed in, we, number one, have to take into consideration large-scale projects that are occurring in the district that may prevent us from placing programs in certain buildings, and we always try to look for a central location, something more centralized, so that way we're giving pretty equitable access distance-wise, because these students, remember, come from all of our buildings all across the district. We also do look at like ease of entry, ease of exiting, that kind of things, good solid bus loop. So there are some strategic pieces that go behind the selection of these buildings. We have an additional layer, or another layer, which is fairly new, is, as you know, we partner with Effective School Solution to provide mental health supports to our students. This will run concurrently with our middle school and high school ESY program. So students that are receiving that support during the school year will have a continuation of those mental health supports during the summer.
Just to piggyback on that real quick, our continued partnership with YMCA will continue during the summertime as well. We'll have YMCA counselors to work with the students that they traditionally work with the entire summer as well.
We have our K-5 or K-8 really SOAR program, which is Student Opportunities for Academic Readiness, or Summer Opportunities for Academic Readiness rather. This is, and this is something that's kind of morphed over time. It used to be by recommendation. We've actually structured it to be a continuation of intervention services. So students that are receiving Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions at the building level through the school's interventionist we look to continue that intervention work during the summer in 2-week clips of time. And we run it content specific, and the goal is to provide continued specific and targeted instruction, so that way there is less of a gap between the ending of school where a student is receiving intervention support and the start of the new school year. That has been really successful. We've been able to continue the work that our interventionists have done with these students so that there isn't that gap, and continue to move along with SMART goals and documenting their progress, so that way when a teacher for the new school year inherits a new student, there isn't a lot of backtracking necessarily that has to happen. We can kind of pick up where we left off. And that philosophy is different than how this program originally started years ago, which was more so like you're a struggling student in your grade level and you go to a grade level placed class where the teacher does like basic skills for the entire, complement of language arts or math, which is kind of like, poking in the dark a little bit, because not every student has the same level of need in the same area. So this is very targeted, very specific, and teachers who do this work in small groups with students to really provide very specific intervention support. That happens at, this year it will be held at New Monmouth for our K-5 program, and then our middle school will be at Thorne Middle School. Something also we've added recently is our esports camps, which are very, very well attended all the time. So we will be running multiple sessions through July 10th through August 4th. That will be housed at Thorne Middle School as well. Fortunately, Thorne's pretty big, so we have a lot of space, access to technology. We've also added in recent times our 3rd through 8th grade instrumental music, where students that are playing an instrument can continue to receive instrumental music support throughout the summer. That is scheduled actually by our instrumental music teachers. So what we do is we ask parents if they have interest for their child to attend. We share that information with our instrumental music teachers who are employed with us during the summer, and then they structure a schedule to share out with parents, because they obviously have certain instruments come on certain days, etc. And we do get a pretty well attended group for those sessions as well. We have added recently as well book clubs. So as you know, the district has a suggested summer reading assignment. We have tried to pair these things together so that students can participate in book clubs related to some of our summer titles. We do this virtually on purpose because oftentimes we are competing with parents and students' summer schedules. So for us, there was more of a benefit in offering this virtually, because if you're on vacation or you have a sports camp or something else that you're doing during the summer, you may be able to join virtually, whereas getting a ride, or if you're away, you can still jump on virtually in the morning to engage with your peers regarding the books that are assigned for summer reading. So that again is flexible. We see what interest there is in what titles we're offering, and then those teachers then contact the families to set up, when that book club will run. So these are our high school geared programs. We do have multiple Jumpstart programs. These are preparation for our high school level courses, and they're specific to who is eligible to take these courses at certain years. So we recently restructured our math sequencing at the high school, where all freshmen now take geometry versus an algebra course. So we offer to our 8th graders, our outgoing 8th graders, incoming 9th graders. So this is current grade levels that you're seeing here. The Geometry Jumpstart, and that again is flexibly scheduled by staff. Once we see where interest is, it can run anywhere within that window, and those Jumpstart programs actually are all housed at High School North. We run the same thing for Algebra 1. There are 2 populations that are eligible to take Algebra 1. Those are 7th graders, because students are eligible to take Algebra 1 as an 8th grade course if they qualify, and that does count as their high school Algebra 1 requirement. It is actually the same course, just housed at the middle school level. And then our 9th graders, who remember take geometry their freshman year, then take Algebra 1 their sophomore year, if they have not taken it during 8th grade. So they are eligible for that Algebra 1 Jumpstart. Algebra 2 Jumpstart is our 10th graders, because our 11th graders in the sequencing take the Algebra 2 course. And these Jumpstarts are really to make sure they have a command of those foundational math skills that they're going to need to be successful in those, what we consider higher level math courses. Our AP Advantage, so we've restructured this a little bit over time. Again, this is flexibly scheduled based on the AP courses that we offer. We titled it AP Advantage this year because we wanted students to understand, if you participate and engage in this summer experience, you will be in a better position to be successful in that AP course come the start of it in September. We have moved away from, like, you need to do a piece of the AP course during the summer, because not every student has the same ability to access or attend, right? Now we're dealing with high schoolers who are doing lots of things. They're working, they're playing on sports teams that begin in August, you know, preseason starts very early. So we felt like this shouldn't be a requirement, but could be an added bonus for those that do want to really get their feet wet a little bit and understand what the AP structure will look like. They focus a lot, especially in the humanities, on strong writing skills, analytical skills, all of those core foundations that will prepare them to be successful. And you know, a lot of kids sign up for an AP course and they're not exactly sure how much work it entails, or you know, what it will be about. So we also want to give them the ability to kind of get a little taste of it prior to really starting that course in September, because if they need to make a schedule change, we want for them to do it early on in the year. Because if we wait, you know, then kids are missing the other coursework that they would have, you know, switched their course to. So there's a lot of different reasons why we've decided to structure it this way instead. And then as Mr. Kirkpatrick said, the YMCA will continue its counseling in all buildings by appointment. Just to clarify, we do have 2 other scenarios running at High School North. We have this every summer credit recovery for attendance, right? So students that don't meet the attendance requirement and can't gain credit for graduation for the courses that they have taken. We do that credit recovery piece over the summer. And then credit recovery for course success, meaning they did not pass the course, so they didn't gain credit. We do most of those experiences through an online platform called Eduseer. And students do that at home.
Is there a reason why the Algebra 2 Jumpstart wouldn't also be for current 9th graders?
Current 9th graders.
That took Algebra 1 is 8th grade?
That might just be a typo. Deb, do you know why that would be up there like that? Because Algebra 2 is an 11th grade course. Algebra 2 for could be a sophomore year course. So yeah, 9th graders could. 9th graders could. However, here's the mentality. Most of the time kids in that sequencing don't sign up for it because there are advanced learners from Algebra 1 and 8th grade.
Right, but they had a year.
Right, they did. So they're
this particular grade.
So yeah, so they're eligible technically, but with all these programs, what we're trying to do is close gaps before kids enter into that coursework. So what we find is, you know, our high flyers don't necessarily sign up for this.
Right, but this is the first year that this 9th grade is switching.
Correct. So they'll be eligible, yeah. But we may have to prioritize those requests based on the number of staff that we have available to teach it. And so the priority will go to kids that, you know, have foundational deficits. So again, for these, if we have to prioritize, and there are years where we get more of a sign up than we don't like than others, we will look to see who might be receiving intervention, who might be an IEP student, and those will be the priorities, and staff in, you know, rostering those courses first. Certainly if we can, you know, have everybody do it, that would be great, but some years it's just not possible. So that's the overall summer program. Oh, go
I
ahead.
just have a question for the AP ones.
Yeah.
Are they like week-long classes? Are they throughout the summer? And like, what happens
It
if you have a
depends.
student that's taking multiple AP classes as a junior? So like, would she have the opportunity to take class
Yeah.
for all of those?
So what we do is first we have to hire staff that are willing to teach it. So we will run the courses that we have staff for. So there are years where not every course has an AP Advantage because we just don't have, you need to be certificated and teaching that course for the upcoming school year. And then what happens is it's typically scheduled flexibly in conjunction with the students that are, that are potentially rostering that. So there are some courses where we can sort out, you might take this in this year versus that year, so we can structure it and stagger it, so we try to get kids the most amount of opportunity possible. Sometimes there is overlap. We allow for staggering of times. So our teaching staff will work with each other and collaboratively with our department to make sure that as little overlap as possible that happens. We've done it a couple different ways year after year. Occasionally it's been like twice a week. Sometimes it's been for a consecutive week. We find that we get a better outcome when we have it like consecutive days.
Okay.
Like, so,
And then would it definitely be in the morning?
yeah, most oftentimes it's in the morning. We did have a period of time where we offered something in the evening hours because we know that sometimes kids work. So we were trying to get as much exposure possible and opportunity, but we didn't have tons and tons of turnout for those.
Will you like survey parents and kids so you have an idea?
We're going to
who's
get the
interested?
availability, yeah. So we're at the formative phases of who wants participation, and then number two, who's willing to be employed over the summer. We are also in May going to be discussing at both high schools. We have AP kind of like fairs during their blocks 3 and 4, where we will have our AP teachers as well as some of our current AP students talking to potential candidates for those AP courses about what to expect, how this could help you, kind of like more of like a encouragement and here's what the real deal is. It can be intimidating coming into an AP course for your first time.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've had meetings with its current teachers, like they've invited them to.
Yep.
Yeah, so they have an idea.
Yeah, and the
what
next
they're-
phase will be like the real deal from their peers. A little bit more of an insider's look at like, how did it, because some of them have other things going on in their lives, right? Like, how did it fit into your world if you are in the theater program or if you're in a sport, and is it manageable?
Right.
So those kinds of conversations will be important peer-to-peer when we have those mini fairs.
But kids, if for some reason they can't do this over the summer, like, they're
It's
still
not,
gonna-
we are making it so it's not a disadvantage anymore. So what used to happen is there was a summer assignment, right, that had to be submitted and it counted as part of a grade, and I think that's tricky territory. I think summer is summer and there's a lot of competing factors. The content is robust. AP courses obviously are written for a national audience, so many schools, especially in the South, start much earlier, like a month earlier sometimes, and those AP classes, AP tests are when AP tests are. So, do our kids lose a month? Yeah, potentially, but I also think there's a strategic way to get it in a really intentional way. So this is really more of like, I don't have time necessarily if you're an AP student to go back and teach you critical writing skills. So that course, this little advantage course in the summer will help to support in those areas so they can get off and running like on day one. So what we've moved away from doing is giving them actual content and tagging a grade to it that happens during the summer.
So if they took one class over the summer, since it's not really content.
Correct. Well, they're not all going to be the same because
Okay.
there are certain things you need in certain
Certain
contents to be successful. Like you wouldn't be going over writing skills in a math course, right? So, but maybe if they were taking multiple humanities courses in English, a social studies, AP psychology, then maybe you only do one, right? But something that's specific like a chem or a bio, probability and stats, I would say those are very specific to the precursor skills that you're going to need to be successful in those courses.
I just want to say thank you for changing the structure so that it's not a graded thing over the summer, because it did put some children at a disadvantage,
Yeah.
especially if they worked or if they took multiple AP classes. So that's wonderful. Because when they did come in and they didn't take it over the summer, it was the first week, you had a huge project that was due to catch up with people.
Right.
The second thing is, this is just an observation, and I'm sure it's changed, or at least I'm hoping it's changed. 2 years ago, we had children that took a couple of AP Jumpstart courses over the summer, and then they got closed out of the AP class when it came time for September.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So that's just something else that I hope that they get priority in scheduling as opposed
Yeah,
to.
and they should have been, their schedule should have been made before leaving for the summer. Like, they all do their course requests, like, we've done that well in advance. I mean, that's already done for next year quite early. So, you know, so it's good to know, good information to know.
And it's not just one child.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we're also trying to limit the drops, right? So we're trying to give them some advanced information about the courses so that way, you know, kids don't get a month into the course and then they're like, this is not for me, because that does happen. But then while that's happening behind the scenes and we, you know, we're trying to build resiliency, persistence, etc. Sometimes kids stick it out. Sometimes kids really come back and say we want to drop, but then they've missed so much in the alternate course. So we're really trying to hone that down a little bit so there isn't that much of a delay if kids really want to decide that this is not for them right now, because that's okay. So we've really had a lot of conversation about this year in a way to make it beneficial, but not pressuring the situation and not a disadvantage, and certainly trying to weigh in on all those factors, you know, the timelines for AP, etc.
Do they have to be enrolled in the AP course?
Yes.
So to take this, they have to be enrolled in the AP
Yes,
course?
they should be enrolled in the AP course, yep. Yep, the jump starts, I mean, those are general courses, but the APs, yeah, they should be enrolled in the AP course that they would be signing up for the summer.
And how big are these classes, like generally?
Depends. So we try to keep them as low as possible. Year to year it differs because it's dependent on registrants, staff we have to teach it, because remember you have to have the certification and experience teaching AP. You know, we never have huge numbers in the APs. You know, typically it's like under 10. You know, it's never been a hugely popular experience. So I feel like we've gone back to the drawing board over time about this time and time and time again we've tried to run office hours, we've tried to do it virtual, we've tried to do a hybrid, we've done morning, we've done night, we've done a combination of both. You know, and we compete with a lot of things. I mean, that's the bottom line. So we just have to find a way to have something advantageous without it being a disadvantage. And so this is what we landed on. This is new this year in the structure of not having it be so high stakes, you know, because we all felt like, is that really fair? Which we know it's not, so that's why we made the move. Yes.
And when does everybody get the options for signing up for something like this, or does the teacher?
When did the signups go out?
So we're working on it. The first step is hiring the staff.
Right.
And so also, not every AP teacher feels like an advantage or a summer program is necessary for their course just by nature of the course. So we hired some staff, and then the rest we've been asked to kind of wait until the end of May to get the rest. And then after that, we'll have schedules so that we can ask the students to start registering for what they're interested in.
And not necessarily just AP, like all this. All this
so currently working on those forms. I mean,
like will it come out in a
very
newsletter?
optimistic date is in May 15th for at least some of the elective programs. Things like esports camp is really straightforward because I just have to put 4 choices on the form.
Right.
But if you've seen the instrumental music form, you have to be like a puzzle whiz to figure that out. So that one may take a little longer, but it's very specific in who's signing up for it. The math ones, I just need to get the teacher schedules.
But it all comes out like in the newsletter, or like separate things you'll send?
So I think the system that we had last year worked pretty well in that we sent it out. There was a big school messenger blast that went to everybody. We also put it in the newsletter, and then we put a banner on the website. For anything high school, we had the teachers send it out also through Google Classroom to their students, whether it was for their current students or incoming. So, you know, I asked the Algebra 2 or Algebra, however these levels are working right now, right, like the Algebra 1 teachers to put up their Algebra 2 prep Jumpstart program, right? So kids who are in their current class, they want to take that future one, things like that.
But that's the aim, is that in the next few weeks, you'll start to see these. And then the SOAR invitations are next. Hopefully, many of those, I tried to send a save the date to many eligible students' parents, so that if your student is already receiving those Tier 2 and 3 intervention services, you're aware of those dates. But that registration process is even bigger, so.
And just
working
so
on that
everybody
right now.
is aware, the SOAR program is invitation only, ESY is invitation only, and even though SOAR is predominantly our intervention students, we do at times have IEP students involved. So there's a couple of different features that we consider. Students that are successful in an in-class support environment, who may not need some type of behavioral support, those students may all be candidates for this program, right? And our philosophy has been that we want to ensure that in any of our summer experiences, the students are successful, but because this is a general education program, SOAR, we have to ensure that students with IEPs who we would want to be a part of the program will have a successful experience. So we are not closed-minded, even though we start with intervention kids. We have had many students with IEPs be a part of that program and be quite successful, but there are many times where we're also, we don't know that this is the right program, right? So, but just so you're aware that it is a intervention, predominantly general ed program, but we do eventually encumber some students with IEPs if they can experience success in the program.
My invitation list to send out in a couple weeks is much longer than the save the date list. The save the date list was a good start, but now, there have been many more recommendations based on
and
needs.
intervention's fluid. So kids that may be in, not be in now, by the end of the year could be in, and we'll continue to roll in those invitations as that happens. But, so that's it. That's on the program.
Thank you, so welcome, thank you very much. Okay, and now.
Oh, I'm the next item too, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna sit down and do this one. So as you know, we are rolling out we're transitioning for next year to Genesis. Hopefully you received the first letter that we sent back last month, which was really like our first communication about the transition. So in that letter, we've asked everybody to examine their current contacts in PowerSchool to make sure that they are updated, email addresses. Because that is how Genesis will eventually generate an invitation for you to create an account with Genesis. So it is really, really important for you to ensure that your contacts in PowerSchool are updated, and you can do that yourself. There were directions in that letter. We are going to continue to send out monthly communications about that, just as reminders. We really need to have that ready to go by the end of this school year, because then we're going to transition the systems. Even though PowerSchool will still be operating behind the scenes for a few months, all of your schedules and student information stuff for the start of next school year will be accessible on Genesis only. There will actually be a requirement when you log in and set up your account in Genesis to fill out various forms. We are going to be doing that form completion prior to accessing your child's schedule, and that has been a really good way to ensure that we're getting accurate and timely information. So our training for staff, we've already started that. Certainly our administrative team and our guidance counselors have worked on the schedule build already. We are really, really far along in our schedule build at all levels, so we're in good shape there. Most of our data behind the scene has already been rolled over into Genesis, which is great. We're just fine-tuning those things. Our staff will be trained when they come back to school in September on basic functions, as will our secretarial staff, and then we'll be offering support for teachers and certainly for you all throughout the year, both building-based and certainly from our point people who handle our student information system. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. For you guys, it's more important to just continue to spread the word about updating contacts.
I think it's the first three. Contacts 1, 2, and 3 will be invited to have an account in Genesis, so make sure those are
email accurate, yes.
So the staff's going to be trained in September. Are they going to be using Genesis primarily when they start?
Only Genesis, yeah.
In September?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll be the grade book, it'll be attendance, but the training for staff to do those basic functions, the hardest part is the grade book. The attendance and the student information access is not the heavy lift. The grade book is the heaviest lift. So what we're doing is we're going to give them the basic functions they need to get up and running during the school year, and then we will be offering ongoing support for the grade book feature throughout the entire school year next year. But the report cards are being morphed over, like nothing on your end from what exists there will change. It might look a little differently, but you know, the report cards are all just being like morphed into that system at this
What
point.
about like the school secretaries and stuff?
They're being trained. Yep, we're starting that training in June. That will be their first training. We've already done some small in-building training with them to get them acquainted. They're also going to be working with how to roster kids, etc., class lists, access student demographic data, reports, all those features, and then we're going to continue their training when they come back in August. So they're
app, like Power School, app for parents?
there's no particular app, but it formats to any size screen. Like it will default the formatting. I have to say, my own kids transitioned from Power School to Genesis, and Genesis is much simpler of an interface. Like it's very like clear cut, easy, streamlined, etc. So, and signing up was simple. Like it was not a big ordeal.
Is that the main reason for the shift?
There's a lot of reasons. You know, so Genesis has a direct link to the state reporting. So it's a New Jersey company. So anytime the state shifts their reporting or updates the features, Genesis automatically encumbers that. So that way it cuts out a lot of the work on our end in regards to formatting things or customizing things for that reporting.
We have that information
Yeah.
that's required, whereas Power School is a national company and they really don't care what the individual states require in terms of reporting, which is a lot. The state requires a lot of reporting, so it will really streamline it on our end. And from what we understand, it does streamline it on the parent end too. It provides a couple little extra added benefits for us.
Yeah.
But we won't get like
simpler.
with Power School because it's an app where we get notifications like when grades are put in and that kind of those types of features. If there's not an app, will we
There's no
not?
app, yeah, so you don't get alerts in the same way, which, I don't know, as a parent, I kind of like that. I was like, getting a little crazy with like, your grade changed to a 95.
Too. They just,
I just have to remind myself to go in regularly and look. It's simple. You can make it an app on your phone because you can take any website and change it into an app for yourself, even though it's technically not driven as an app through the company. The interface is just simple, streamlined, clean, easy to read. The other piece of it is it also has a lesson planning warehouse that we'll use for our teaching staff, whereas right now we're collecting lesson plans in a variety of ways, which makes it a little less effective and efficient than we want it to be. This can also be used as a warehouse for that. The grade book is easier for our teachers. We can default those percentages that we want, you know, like the buckets in the common grading that we utilize. So I think our teachers are going to find it to be simpler too on the back end. So.
Are IEPs going to be,
Or what?
Are IEPs going to be easier to find, and is assessment data going to be there, or is that going to be?
No, assessment data is still in Lincoln.
Okay.
There is an opportunity in the future to maybe merge those pieces. You know, one step at a time for us. You know, to jump everything all at once would be rather challenging. So our goals are, for this year, are demographic data, obviously, all the student information stuff, the reporting, lesson planning, and grade books.
and we've already migrated our business office software to Genesis and our HR, so everything will be running on the same platform.
So there's no more notifications that are going to come to your phone, but will there still be an email once a week on a progress report? Or something?
I don't.
We have to check with Mrs. Calabro.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure, Ms. Steinhausen.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the impetus is really on the parents to check everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I don't, mine's almost a senior, I don't really care. I'm just-
Yeah. Yeah, and we're gonna make sure that whatever the differences are, parents are really aware of it. And we're gonna ensure that at our back to school nights that our principals are presenting on it. Like there's gonna be more information for you guys on that, the user side of things. We're just not at that point in the process where we know exactly what that's going to look like. Our goals right now are really just getting the information accurate to be able to change it over. So that way everybody can have an account at least. You know, that's going to be step one. And with, you know, 9,500 kids, that's a lot of families and a lot of email addresses.
Right now, our focus was on getting the schedules done in
Yes.
Genesis, so that they'll be available.
Which we're
Yeah. So
super
we-
far along
We've built
with.
our schedules from ground up, just, all right, we're starting from zero, so.
Which was a really good process
But
for
yes,
us.
it's making us way more efficient.
Will the kids have their own availability to the portal like they do now?
Yeah, my kids do. Yep, yep, yep.
Okay. Any more questions from Mrs. Alphone? All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Before we get started discussing dress code, I wanted to first thank the PIC members who decided to volunteer for our wellness/mental health forum that we put together last month. It was an opportunity for each level, elementary, middle, and high school, to come and speak with Dr. Young and myself about some of the survey results that we got from our mental health survey and some of the practices that we put into place this year. So I want to thank you for participating. That's something that we're going to continue to do next year, maybe more frequently than just once a year. So if you didn't have an opportunity to be a part of that this time, you certainly will have an opportunity next year. So thank you. The second thing I'm going to promote is the wellness fair that's going to take place tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at High School North. So that's an opportunity for us as a community to hear from some of our local providers in the area of wellness and mental health and social emotional growth. The Mental Health Association will be the keynote speaker, and then you'll have an opportunity to go around and talk to all the providers as well. So I did a phone blast, I think Monday night. I'll do another one either tonight or tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully you can share that information with some of your friends and we get a nice turnout. I think it's the culmination of what I believe has been an extensive uptick in activity that we have had in this area for our parent community and for our student support. So hopefully you'll come out. I'll just send this around if you could just take one and pass it along. I appreciate it. So this is going to be more of an interactive conversation. Dress code is always a hot topic, and over the last year or two, through Marjorie and through some emails that I've received and Mary Ellen has received from the parent community, dress code is always a topic that controversial. Everyone has an opinion on it, and things have changed since we were in school. I have a daughter who's now in her 20s, but dress code is challenging as the children and the students shop in different locations and the offerings are different. I also have 2 boys. It's less of an issue with the dress code for them. But just to let you know what the procedure is, hopefully you've all had a chance to take a good look at the handbook over the last year or so, or your time as a Middletown parent. The handbook has a code of conduct in it, you should all become familiar with, and also has different areas that are addressed for our schools. One of those areas is the dress code. I can tell you that every summer, building administration works with central office to revise the entire handbook, and the code of conduct is a part of that revision. That's the part of the handbook that has to be board approved. It's the only part of a student handbook that gets board approved. The rest of it is kind of fluid, and we can change those portions throughout the year without board approval. So this year we're going to be reviewing the dress code again, and what we wanted to do is to give this group an opportunity to give us some feedback about what you think about the dress code, what you might like to see in there, what you might see removed. Luckily, we have Mr. Curtis and Mr. Cullen, who are middle and high school administration, and traditionally dress code infractions occur more so at the middle and high school level than they do at the elementary level. So if I need to refer to them at any point, I can certainly do that. We did make minor changes to the handbook, the dress code portion of the handbook over the summer. Last summer, we put a statement in that said student attire should be reasonably neat, clean, and appropriate for scheduled activities of the day. That gave us a little bit of wiggle room with regard to how we're addressing our dress code. We also put in something about costumes not being worn unless it's directed by administration or a teacher. So I encourage you to take a look at the dress code if you're not familiar with it. But this is an opportunity for us to kind of have an open discussion about what you think, what your overall philosophy is, and any changes that you'd like to see made. So, does anyone have anything that they want to talk about? Ms. Stockhausen?
Sorry, just a question. How does someone become dress coded? What's the procedure for it?
Dress coded?
Yeah,
Do you mean?
that's what the kids
That's what the kids call it, yeah.
Dress code.
So-
They get called out.
Right.
is it by your teacher? Is it someone in the hallway? Just,
So this-
I know the answer, I'm just.
Well, this is and I know where you're going with this, so this is a conversation that we certainly can have, because it makes it very hard on an administrator when Jennifer has gone through the first 4 blocks of the day and no one has noticed her attire maybe is inappropriate, and then by block 5, they're called out to the nurse and the recognition has been made. So we encourage, in the beginning of the school year and throughout the school year, we encourage the staff to recognize inappropriate attire and to either alert the school nurse or the school administration, and we go from there. The consistency, to your point, is sometimes difficult, because what you may see as inappropriate might be different from what I see as inappropriate. That's why we have specifics listed in the dress code, but they're a little ambiguous, what's in the dress code too. What we're trying to stay away from is from offensive material. If someone comes in with with a beer company or something that might be inappropriately viewed or cause a stir in the building, we're going to want that material removed. Something that's revealing, something that might be distracting to other school students. If you have a particular person that's sitting in front of you that might be distracting what they're wearing, exposure of skin in inappropriate areas, things like that. I don't have the exact language in front of me, but our goal is consistency without getting crazy, right? So I don't know how many of you have walked around a high school in 2023. The administration can spend much of their day running around chasing dress code violations. So
difficulty is that someone's called down and they're given the opportunity to put a sweatshirt or a sweater on. They do, and then 20 minutes later you see them and it's not on anymore. So it's very difficult to
We're trying to make sure the kids are wearing appropriate attire. We're trying to address it in a humanistic manner. Even though it's in the student code of conduct, there are consequences. Like Mrs. Walker said, we offer sweatshirts. We're trying, and if you remember, we sent a letter home. Coming out of the pandemic, at the beginning of the school year, we sent a letter home that dealt with attendance, that we're going to start looking at attendance pre-pandemic, and we're going to start looking at the dress code again. Because really, this is a partnership with parents. And I know also from having a daughter that was in high school, what she left the house with wasn't necessarily what she was walking around the hallways in. So, but we are trying to develop a partnership with parents, so we have your support related to what the kids are wearing. And again, we're not looking at it as a gotcha, where we're trying to hunt kids down with what they wear all day. It would be a tireless task. We're just trying to work with parents to make sure that the children are putting on clothing that is covering their bodies in an appropriate manner and that is not labeled with inappropriate, controversial topics. That's kind of where we are.
So there's 2 sections of the dress code at the high school area that you're going to have issues with over and over again. One is the length of the shorts and the skirts, because it says it has to be down to where your fingers are. I'm short. Look at how long the shorts would have to be. If you can see.
Yeah,
almost 2 feet. Good luck finding those. So immediately, that's an issue. So you need to look at that. And the second thing that you need to look at is no crop tops. Try to find a kid a shirt that goes as long as the shirt right now, as long as the pants. I mean, it's hard to find. So it's not so much junior and senior parents, because at this point, we're done. But 8th grade parents coming in and get this dress code and they're like, oh no, you can't wear this, you can't wear that. It's just a little stressful.
We understand. And we understand that it's a hot topic, and we're just trying to get it right, to be honest with you, in changing times. But when we develop it this year, we certainly will take that into consideration.
Those are the 2 sections that the parents...
Midriffs,
advocate for.
spaghetti straps, shoulder showing, that sort of thing is a little more manageable, but still it's a challenge. So you have to start looking at the thickness of the straps.
It has to be 2 inches wide. I mean, is anybody really measuring it? No, but you can also have 2 girls wearing the same exact shirt, and one girl has a big chest and the other one doesn't. And guess who's getting dress coded? The one that has the big chest, because it's noticeable and it's distracting. So the consistency is a problem.
It is a problem. And then let's have an honest conversation about males being uncomfortable reporting it at times, so we get the nurse involved where we can. We obviously have female administrators in the buildings, so that helps. But we're working toward consistency and being realistic. So, yeah.
What was you read something early on that you said you just added to the dress code?
Yes.
What was that again?
I can reread it. It's in all 3 levels now. It's a statement that the principals at all 3 levels came up with for consistency. Student attire should be reasonably neat, clean, and appropriate for the scheduled activities of the day.
So why add that? Because it's very...
It's generic, right?
Right, but it's very reasonably neat, reasonably. I don't know, I feel like it's very generic, so if you said that to our children, they'd be like, I think this is reasonable. So, I feel like I mean, that's just how they are.
Right, they know everything, right?
Yeah, so...
I don't have specifics.
I roll that
There's
back.
specifics under that.
I'm gonna hire.
Reasonable is reasonable. I mean, you know, they may have a different opinion of reasonable, but again, as the parents, we have to kind of let them know that that's not necessarily reasonable.
And can I just say something about the shorts and the skirts? It does say skirts, shorts should be of an appropriate length. It doesn't say.
And then what's appropriate?
Again,
And it does say the top has to
meet.
meet the bottom of the pants. So,
Yeah.
like if it could be a, you know,
I
just
think
long
the
as it's not
fingertip
here.
thing
You
is
know?
still in there. Because I looked at it this morning.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, and somebody else had something too. I'll get back to the pajamas in a second.
I know that you have very specific things,
Yeah.
but I just feel like back to your point that you said you could go the whole day and somebody might not say anything and then somebody might, because you might think it's not reasonable for the girls to have short shorts
Right.
on, but a girl mom who knows we can't find shorts longer than, are like, that's reasonable because that's just how shorts are. That's what I mean, it's too.
We can tweak, we should
That's-
discuss possibly tweaking the
Yeah.
language, so it's a little
But
less
yes,
ambiguous.
yes.
Short
Cover the butt.
length is still in there. It still says fingertips.
Where's that?
It's number 12.
Oh, well,
Length of
Yeah,
shorts,
length of
skirt
skirts and
shorts when standing must be at least,
at least as long as your extended fingertips. That's almost to your knee.
What happens if you have
I have to shop in
Oh,
Old
yeah,
Navy
well,
for like old lady needs for my. That's what it's called.
when they
So.
stood up. No, I agree with that. But yeah, that's something that, like I said, some of this stuff is not enforceable.
But now, we talk about pajamas.
And the kids wearing it.
Pajama bottoms for the kids are very popular right now, and I'm not necessarily sure that's a problem if they're wearing a hoodie, sweatshirt, and pajama bottoms. If they come to school completely dressed in pajamas, that kind of falls under costumes, I think, and...
Clean.
And this is what we're talking about. No.
I think you need to higher expectations for that.
Right.
You have to full dress.
I think you're gonna have a really hard time getting rid of pajama bottoms.
Not if you can
I mean,
listen, if you're a guy in short pajama bottoms and a girl who wear a crop top and short shorts, like, you can't, you know what I mean?
Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Yes,
we
Mr.
say
Cullen.
Every marking period in high school north, we have a class meeting. And at that class meeting, we just emphasize the importance of upholding the integrity of our academic environment. And we do have some female administrators and some male administrators talk about what that means. What is a professional-like environment? What is appropriate? What isn't appropriate? We know that there's gray areas, and we're always trying to navigate those gray areas. Unfortunately, at least I can speak for myself at High School North, the conversations we've had with households, very positive. Everyone's on the same page. I always say there's comfort in consistency, so the more consistent we can be, the better. But our verbiage for the 4 class marking period meetings that we've had has been uphold the integrity of our academic environment. We want to minimize distractions, we want to maximize productivity, and have a true academic and educational environment. So that's really the way we speak of it. There are a lot of pajamas. I do think it would be challenging.
But there's no difference between the pajama bottoms and the sweatpants at this place. At Billabong, they're selling some pajama bottoms the kids are wearing at pants at
It's
Billabong.
primarily the distracted t-shirts or sweatshirts. It's distracted short shirts in addition to the shorts.
And listen, if you
we try
have
to be reasonable with who are dress coded and as consistent as possible, but it is virtually impossible in a school of our size to hit every single student. But what happens is, inevitably, when you find one and they're dress coded and they need to wear a sweatshirt or their parents come in, then the others typically will change or cover up. So it does spread. So I think just, addressing the one is helpful for the rest.
That's a key point, is that, like, regardless of what you decide the dress code should be, it has to be enforceable. And I think that's the problem, is the kids, it's a joke. And some teachers are like, I stopped sending them down because nothing happens. So like whatever the decision is, it's gotta be enforceable. Same thing with cell phones and everything else. The kids are, it's free reign.
And listen, although what kids are wearing is different, dress code violations have been around since we were in school. This is not a new argument that we're having right now about dress code. We're just trying to tighten it up, and I think how we tighten it up is going to be the key. To your point, if we can't enforce it, correct, why put it in writing and put it in the handbook?
Because you're gonna know, those kids know the teachers that they have to put a sweatshirt on, right? Because that teacher's like,
And listen,
So it's not
as a
just-
parent, I can say this. This is a shared partnership. A lot of these decisions have to be made at home. If you're uncomfortable with your child wearing pajama bottoms, tell them they can't wear it. Like, it's not just about the school sending kids home, it's about parents doing what they think is appropriate for their own children, while it's aligned with school policy. So. All right, so listen, you can email me any concerns or ideas you have, because I will take them to the meetings that we have related to handbook in the summertime. Something I'm looking forward to. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for a great year. It's been a long year, but I think these meetings have been beneficial. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett. Thank you very much. Okay, and now on to Middletown Friends of Diverse Learners. We have Dr. Safford with us this morning.
So thanks, I'm going to keep this short. We just need some help getting the word out about a May 11th presentation. We're having SPAN present virtually about IEPs and 504 plans, and this is just, to help the parents, kind of understand the process and their role in it, and, what to expect, and it's a great time to ask questions. So if you could help the word out, that'd be great. And then we have one more parent meeting in June, and that's it.
Okay, so now on to item 7, any old or new business anybody would like to bring up or share? Yes.
My name's Melissa, I'm representing Harmony. You may have seen when you checked in the flyer for the Love for Luca 5K run walk. It's our second year. Last year was the first year.
Yeah.
It was incredibly successful. We were able to raise enough money for 2 specific grants to research rhabdomyosarcoma, which is what Luca suffered from. We lost him at the age of 11. He was a 5th grader at Harmony. Many of you probably are very familiar with Luca. We are doing it for the second year this year, and it's at High School North on September 24th. I would love it if you all could share this flyer or the information with your prospective schools, and we are actually going to be doing teams this year. So you'll see the information in the letter. We would love it if each of the schools could send out, post the information about the race first and foremost, because early bird registration has opened. And we're also offering the option to sign up as teams, and we're gonna advertise a battle of the schools to see which school can register the most people for the 5K. There's gonna be 3 trophies, 1 for elementary, 1 for middle school level, and 1 for the high school. And that has the most participants. We also have a merchandise store open. If you'd like more information on that, I can send you the link, or we could post the link somewhere. It's probably up in the Middletown, New Jersey, Facebook group, but I can get you that information. But we are really excited this year. It was so successful last year, raised well over $50,000. And I know this year there's been an effort by the hockey in Middletown. They raised money as well, and we're able to get another grant going. So please grab the flyer, and we would love to see teams represented from all the schools.
Can you send that to Margie and have her?
Sure, yeah, no, I think that Sam sent some information over to you already.
Yeah, that's how we got the Mrs. Collins.
Okay, yes.
But we
So-
can definitely send an electronic.
Yes, the link is on the bottom here, but I can send the link over too.
I
Thanks.
love the teams. I love that you did the teams for each.
Yes, that was brought up for us, like, yeah. It's like, we learned a lot from the first time, so it's just, we're building on that, so.
Right, any other old or new business before we adjourn for this week?
I'm from New Monmouth, and so a lot of the parents are wondering if there's any progress about rezoning or what's going on with that whole situation.
Strategic plan.
Yeah.
Redistricting.
Redistricting.
Not at this time, and that's a huge community project, but I know there is concern about the walk, the new community, and if you've gone by, those condos are going up fast, and there's a lot of them. So that whole community is going to be districted for Bayview, Bay Shore, and North. So we've
And that's
the
one behind.
That's the one behind the big clown.
Yeah. It's gonna be. What about Target, across the street from Target, where? They
Oh, where?
Harmony.
Oh, yeah, that's already been districted.
Yeah, so that's definitely
done.
Harmony. That's Harmony.
New Monmouth is not getting any new students, if that's your question. No.
Oh, that's a lot of people's questions.
No. New Monmouth is not.
We do seem to increase by like 30 students every year. From
That's-
last year to this year, it's been over 30 students, and I feel like every year, it's all.
There has been no change in the lines. I think some of that may be because Port Monmouth is still up and coming since Sandy. There were a lot of homes that were destroyed, and builders are coming in and, taking down the older homes and putting up newer homes, and families are moving into them where maybe an old couple or someone who already had students go through the school. So that may be part of it, and I think in Middletown too, where we are getting newer, younger families in. But there's no changes in any of the lines. No school is getting students other than the schools I just mentioned because of the new communities.
But you're not gonna change the lines that are going into New Monmouth?
No.
That's not gonna change?
Nope.
That's what parents are concerned about?
No, they are
Because
not.
it's the lower grades that have the higher enrollment. It seems like every year.
We're noticing that. I don't know, maybe a COVID boost, I don't know, I guess it's a little too early for that. But we are noticing that some areas have higher numbers in kindergarten and first grade than we've seen. And not by a lot, but, by a few students, more than normal.
All right, was there a hand in here?
Yeah, back to what we talked about, the social emotional feedback. We were thinking and just talking to a lot of the parents now that testing's going on for the students, especially the ones who have never had testing before. We've noticed that they're all like very stressed out about it. So I thought it might be a good idea to have the SPSS talk to the students before testing starts. Just maybe about like coping and like what to do if you're nervous about the test or...
It's not a bad idea. I'm not so sure that it's not occurring in any of our buildings, so I don't want to say that it's not, but I think that's a good idea, and we can work with building administration to put something in place, probably for next year at this point.
Yeah.
As we start to wind down in the next week or two. But I think that having them address some anxiety would not be a terrible idea.
Well, third grade parents at least, and I think we are noticing that, like, now that we're more aware of anxiety and like the signs of it and everything, we're just seeing that this is like when our kids get more serious and they definitely need
That could be an annual
chat.
Yeah, an annual chat that occurs actually. I don't think that's a bad idea. I can look into that.
And even right now, reach out to your principal and ask if SPSS can go into those classes in third grade, and that's something that the principal certainly can organize.
I think we should do that. Thank you.
All right, anything else from, yes?
I was just wondering if there was any follow-up about the assessment? Like, we had that meeting at the beginning of the year.
The new assessment?
Yeah, like about the...
We will have, so we did a parent feedback session with representatives from the pilot buildings last week, which was great. We are meeting with our district level committee next week, where we will discuss feedback about the two tools that we piloted and then be making a decision on the direction that we'll be moving forward in. So we'll have that to parents, that information before the end of the year.
Okay.
Yep, that's where it stands right now.
And then would you distribute that information?
Yep. So my goal is before the school year concludes to send out some kind of communication regarding what the assessment structure will look like. We are definitely moving, as I mentioned, to the DIBELS 8 in replacement of the Fontes and Pinnell screening for early literacy. So that will be in that communication in addition to the selection of the digital tool and the time parameters during each grade level when it will be given. There'll be estimates because we haven't solidified our assessment calendar yet, but we know that it will be a fall, winter, spring administration. So our goal is to get that out before the end of the year.
Thank you.
Okay. So before we wrap up, just a reminder that the Parent Advisory Council meeting, the last one for the school year, is coming up on Wednesday, June 7th. you're all invited to attend that, as well as the PIC meetings through the course of the year. I just want to thank you very much for your commitment to the group. It's so nice to see so many folks take the time out to be here. I really, really appreciate every single one of you. I will be in touch over the summer as to whether or not you'll be continuing with us for next year for your schools. Maybe you'll be moving on to the school that your child is moving up to, and you'll be able to still be part of our group. But in the meantime, thank you very much for your commitment. Have a wonderful, wonderful summer, and we'll see you in October.
And Mrs. Walker and Mr. Capone had to leave for a meeting, but she asked me to just thank all of you for participating in PIC and have a great summer.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody. Take care.